Donna's World.
Hello everyone, welcome to Donna's World, and to thank God it's Friday, the weekly slot in which I share my views about all kinds of issues that affect the human race, and you hopefully subscribe, like, share, and send comments and reactions. Right, you might find that you can hear me more clearly this week because I now have a sort of like newfangled high-tech microphone that I can clip to my clothing. And I've done this because people have complained in the past that they can't always hear me properly. And at first I thought it might just be I wasn't speaking clearly enough, but I think it's a technology thing. And I hope that this new microphone resolves the problem. Talking about technology, being a little bit more advanced around technology, I want to try something new this week, which is called live streaming. Live streaming is basically where I sit in my house, wherever I am in the world, or in my hotel room or wherever, and we are talking, we focus on a particular topic, and then viewers can send in written questions or comments, or they can phone them in, okay? And that way, we can interact live in real time. And the reason I want to do this week is because last week, I talked about the controversial new assisted dying bill, which went through the British Parliament and is currently in the process of being scrutinized and amended so that, it's either going to eventually become a law in England, or it won't make it to the final stage and will be cancelled before it becomes a law. Now, what is assisted dying all about? Well, I don't need to repeat myself because we talked about this last week. So you can always go back and look at last week's video by me. And you can also go to Google and read the loads of articles about it. It's a very fascinating topic and it affects everybody because you or I could become terminally ill at any moment. Even people who are young and were strong for most of their lives can suddenly lose their health. And even if it doesn't happen to you personally, it can happen to any member of your family or your spouse or your friend. And that's why I said it affects everybody, because obviously not every family will go through it. Not every individual will go through this issue of living with a terminal illness. Some people just die peacefully, at the right time and no bother. But there are people who die slow, excruciatingly painful deaths they find, and feel humiliated by their helplessness or just can't bear the anguish, the physical pain. And this bill, the whole issue of assisted dying is about whether such people should have the right to request early ends to their lives so they don't have to suffer anymore. And as you can imagine, that's a pretty radical concept. And that's what we talked about last week. And that's what I want to talk about tomorrow, Saturday, at 4:00 Nigerian time. So I want to do a live streamed event around assisted dying so that my YouTube friends and viewers can call in. They can send in written questions or call in. The number we're going to use that you can call will be published at the end of this video so that, if you'd rather talk to me than send me a written question or comment, you can do so. It will be at 4 p.m. Nigerian time. And you will again have to refer to Dr. Google or whatever your personal search engine is and find out what 4 p.m. Nigerian time is in the region or country you live in. I mean, my son lives in Los Angeles. So Los Angeles at the moment is 9 hours behind Nigeria. But, people who live in New York or Boston may only be 5 or 6 hours behind Nigeria. And people who live in Australia or other parts of Africa will also have their own time differences. And then, of course, there are also countries where they are in the same time zone as I am. So, please, I would love to hear from you. And I'll be delighted if you can find the time tomorrow to join us in this discussion. I've never live streamed before, so I don't know how well I will handle it, but I will try my best. I imagine it's not totally unlike being on a live broadcaster as a journalist, which I've done many times before in the past. But I don't know. I've never done this thing about doing a YouTube session in that way. So let's experiment. Let's go for it. And you know why I chose tomorrow? Tomorrow, the 14th of December, would have been my mother's birthday. And her name was Anne Chisom Kubara. And she died over a year ago. And if she had lived, tomorrow would have been her 89th birthday. And the reason why Mom is so relevant in this context is that she had a long, slow, painful death. She suffered from dementia. She couldn't communicate towards the end of her life. I think for the last 3 or 4 years, she was dumb. Literally, she couldn't talk. But we could tell when we touched some of her body parts that she was in pain. Though she didn't have any sort of particular physical illness, but she was in pain. I think she had, all kinds of arthritis and issues she couldn't tell us about. But most important of all, she had lost her mind. And this is a woman who'd had a very, very sharp mind and a lot of pride and dignity. And I know that she would have hated the fact that at the end of her life, she was stuck in a spare bedroom in her daughter's house, because she used to be the madame, the chatelaine of this beautiful home of her own. She was very much into gardening, so she had her own territory, which she ruled with style. And to be reduced to having to live in my spare room in a house that was a lot smaller and less attractive than her own, and to be totally dependent on me and a nurse for everything she needed. She could not go to the bathroom by herself or anything. And so there were times when I felt as if ending her life early would be doing her a favor, because I knew she couldn't tell me, but I could tell everything. She kind of knew that she was in a bad place, and she did not like it at all. Then again, she was a very, very staunch Catholic. So probably if she'd been able to express an opinion, she might have said something like, I would love to die, but my religion forbids it. And then she would perhaps have stoically chosen to just continue till God took her away. And this is the debate that I would like us to have tomorrow. It's because it's Mom's birthday, and it just reminds me of that whole thing about, would you help someone die if they wanted to die? And even, would you commit suicide if you didn't need help to die? Because you could have the sort of illness where you don't need anyone to help you dispatch yourself to the other world, to the spirit world. All you need to do is take an overdose. You can do it for yourself. So basically tomorrow, the question we're going to be discussing is it ever under any circumstance right to end your own life because you're suffering and terminally ill, or have some dreadful condition? Or is it ever right for you to ask someone to enable you to do that, which is what the new British proposed law is all about? So tomorrow, I hope I will see at least some of you online. And I thank you very much for those of you who've been listening and following all along. Let's talk tomorrow. And then next Wednesday, as usual, I'll be doing Wellness Wednesday, which is about my personal journey to lose weight and improve my mental and physical health. And so if for any reason you can't make it tomorrow, there will be a recording that can be shared later with those who could not sign on at 4 p.m. Nigerian time tomorrow, Saturday, December the 14th. The phone number you can call will be published, as I said. Thank you very much.